What impresses you out of quarterback Jordan Love of Utah State with what he's able to do with the ball?
Yeah, well, he takes care of the football. I remember him, from recruiting. And he's bigger, he's faster, he's developed. They've done a nice job with him. Coach Wells, I think he does a really good job with his quarterbacks. They play really well. And Jordan's no different. He's a guy that's been making plays for him, and they're hard to defend. They give you a lot of different formations. They're very creative. They got quarterback run game. They throw it well. Every single week, you're going to see some things in there that are a little bit different. They game plan you. They make it really difficult to defend them. And when you have a quarterback that's able to run it, throws the ball effectively, takes care of it, those guys they're hard to defend that way.
Talked a lot about your offense, kind of more of a running the football and kind of chewing the clock and stuff this year. And I'm just curious for you, with what you've been around offensively and the 50 points a game and 500 yards and all that, to have, it's working. You've won 3 in a row, but to be at 112th in total offense and just kind of be doing things differently than you maybe are used to doing. How's that kind of fit with you, or is it weird at all with what you guys have had to switch to? Or
well, it's obviously I think every offensive coach, head coach or coordinator or offensive coach of any team in America would say they want to score more points. You want to go put up a bunch of yards. You'd like to be explosive, and at the end of the day, it really comes down to wins. How do you win? And if you're able to run the football, you take care of it, which we've done the last couple games. You play great defense. You go out there and try to make some game-changing special teams plays. That's how you have to do it sometimes. I hope we get better. I hope we keep improving. I hope that we find ways to be more explosive. I hope we find ways to keep running the football, and I hope we find ways that we can get more points on the board. And so it's just, it's different. I mean, some of the things, you can go back and say what you've done. I wouldn't say that we're schematically too far off of what we've done, but at the same time, we've got to go out there and play design versus play making, those have to come together. And that's how you create explosion and create confidence. And I think the teams that do that offensively, they have those two things. They've got explosion in there, and it's not always about trying to throw the ball for 50 yards. It's throwing a hitch sometimes, or like Sed did. You throw a slant and you rack it and you make an explosive play and you score. It's those type of things that take an advantage of it.
We see running backs and receivers all the time. Nobody thinks anything of it. When you switch quarterbacks in the middle of a drive, what do you think that does to the defense's preparation and play?
Yeah. Well, I know what it does to everybody else. You think there's an issue with your quarterback, right? You pull him out. I mean, that's the natural thing. If you yank a quarterback, you take him out of the game, something's wrong, and that's just not the case. I think for defenses, who are you going to defend? You have a plan. Well, you can go back and drop 8, and the quarterback can run. You can go bring pressure, and the quarterback can throw, and both guys can do both. Montel's obviously been in there and done some run game for us and some different packages. But, every week he's done a little bit something different. He's been in there a little bit more. Brett, I thought, has been very efficient, has done a nice job moving the ball, and we stayed in some manageable third downs. He was able to convert it. So I think it's difficult. How are you going to defend it? If you just want to say we're going to do the same exact thing regardless of which quarterback's in, then I think we have a good answer for that, and we'll figure that out pretty quickly. So, what are you preparing for throughout the week? On top of that, what are you going to do when our defense is playing really well? Where are you spending your time there? When your special teams are able to go out there and create some momentum and some field position, where do you spend your time? And it really comes down to that. You got 20 hours. Where are you going to spend your time? And, I think that makes us difficult to defend.
Harsin, you guys have played arguably better on the road this year than at home, and played 3 really good teams and done well on the road this year. What have you seen when those weeks and preparing that's enabled you guys to execute the way you have on the road this year?
Yeah, I think this team likes being on the road. Not every team is like that. I think these guys they like the process of a Friday, getting done and getting over there and getting to the hotel and getting meetings started. We'll go see a movie. We'll have our team meeting that night. These guys have just really operated on the road really well. We talk about a business mentality when we do go on the road, and you never know how that's going to be. And for whatever reason, these guys do a really good job with it. I think they've embraced that as part of kind of just the challenge that we talked about in the off season that carries over to now. But you got to be able to win on the road. That's one thing. If you want to play and be a successful football team, and like everybody hopes at the end to have a chance to play for a championship, you got to find ways to win on the road. And our guys I think they went out there and they fought really hard throughout the road games. And this will be no different. Playing Utah State on the road, we were there a couple years ago. That's a tough place to play. Their fans are great. They get excited. It's going to be loud. They always play well at home, and certainly, they're going to play tough against us. They always do. They're a physical football team. They're very well coached, and this is going to be a major challenge for our guys. And it's going to start. It actually started on Sunday. How do we go into this week and prepare ourselves to go back on the road again? How do we prepare ourselves for a team that's right now exploding on offense? They had 52 points against UNLV and I think almost 600 yards. And as far as the defense goes, these guys are they're very opportunistic, like the defenses we've been facing, and they're they do some really good things on special teams, creating turnovers. So to me, it's our process doesn't change a whole lot, but who we're going to play and having to go back on the road again, that's going to be a major challenge for us.
I kind of took part of my question there. But last time you guys went down there, had the 7 turnovers in the first half, and you look at their defense, second in the nation, I think, with 20 takeaways, and they had 7 against BYU. What specifically do you see from their defense that presents a challenge going down there again?
Well, they're physical. Number 2, Dallin Levitt, we just continue to see great safeties. He's another one. He is a very good player. I think he does a lot in the back end there, getting guys in position, and they do quite a few things. They're difficult to just figure out exactly what it is they're doing. So the 7 turnovers help you too. When you get that in one game, we certainly experienced that. You're not gonna win those games, and that helped them in their numbers. But this is a really good football team. They do a good job up front. They're going to give you a lot of different looks on the D-line and linebackers and pressures, and they like to bring that. They're going to change their coverages up. So, it's just a matter of studying the film and breaking it down and trying to figure out what their tendencies are, when do they do it, and then having answers. How do we attack it? And, certainly we want to do that, but at the same time, take care of the football. Turnover battle, everybody's going to say it every week. You win the turnover battle, you got a great chance of winning the game. So, we have to do a much better job than we did last time we were down there.
Is it different to, quote-unquote, avenge a loss when it's at their place again? Like you said, 2 years ago, that was one of the tougher games you guys probably ever had to play in. 2 years ago, you guys lost at BYU, and you beat them this time, and I'm sure that there's an extra excitement factor to that. Does that matter more if you guys can go back there and win again, especially considering the last time what happened there?
Well, 2 years ago, I think so much has happened between when we played there last and now. Now, I'll say this, you don't forget about it. Last time you played, and I would say, obviously the performance we had was very poor, but the energy that they had in their stadium, playing in that environment, you don't forget about that. So know what you're getting into. It really is the biggest message. And like I said before, we're going to play a really good football team. We got to go play on the road, and certainly last time we were there, guys that are on this team that played in that game, they remember it. We don't have to, bring that up and spend a whole lot of time, on what happened. Our focus is how do we get better on Tuesday. If we start doing that, that's the one thing. We start doing those things and worrying about the game right now, we're going to worry about Tuesday's practice. We know what we're facing. We're going to go out there and prepare for it and take care of the football, play good football. Go out there and do some of the things that we've been doing, get better. Right now, if we don't, by Friday, if we're not better than we were, on last Saturday, it's probably going to be a challenge for us. And that's going to be something that we can control.